Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal podcast on this 19th of June 2020. Happy Juneteenth day to everybody out there. If you're out there protesting, again, I salute you. Be safe out there. This COVID is still out here. I mean, let's not pretend like COVID has gone away. It's not going away. You see cases in 23 different states rising. I'm about to go over with today's headlines, some of the impact that it's had on the sports world. So it's still out here. I encourage everybody to absolutely, if you're going to protest, if you're going to be out in the crowd, to absolutely take all precautions necessary. Um, Again, I cannot risk it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm listening to the doctors, listening to Dr. Fauci. Remember him? Remember Dr. Fauci? Remember him? I know he's kind of been in hiding for the last couple of weeks, but I'm not fucking with the government whatsoever for regards to 45 and Vice President Pence in terms of what they're talking about. We know what their objectives are. We know what their goals are. They don't care about black people or about trying to keep people healthy. Just want to get the economy going and just worrying about the money. I'm worried about my health. I'm concerned about your health and your safety. Put your health and safety first. You can't work if you're dead. It's just that simple. You cannot work if you're dead. So take all precautions out there. If you're out there protesting, it's definitely making a difference. It's definitely there is a sea change that's going on in this country, without question. But remember, you have to protect yourselves and take all precautions. A lot to do on this podcast. I have not been on a live podcast in I want to say March. Finances and how to deal finances through COVID and what have you. I've been done. We certainly done a lot of podcasts through Zoom that have been pre-recorded, but this is our first live podcast in a long time. Um, I'm definitely happy to be with you. I've had a lot on my mind, a lot to talk about, a lot of things. We certainly, you know, a lot has occurred to say the least since I've done that live podcast back in March. Um, so we'll be discussing some of those things. NBA, J. Cole, No Name. We'll get to all that. But we're going to begin with some opening headlines. You talked about COVID. You got 28 Clemson players test positive today. You have the Phillies, Blue Jays, and Giants closing down their spring training facilities due to Corona. You had 13 University of Texas football players yesterday, a couple of days ago, testing positive for Corona. So Corona is not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. You already had NFL players, Ezekiel Elliott, test positive last week. And there's again, these are just like preliminary workouts. Uh, or these are just players who have tested in the NFL. With NFL, they're doing their own thing. They're separate workouts. They're not doing excuse me, they're not doing official workouts. The facilities have not been open to players in the NFL. They've been open to coaches. They have not been open to players. And you already heard John Harbaugh talking about how to run a practice with some of the guidelines that we have to follow. That's it's almost impossible. So this thing is real. This ideal that this virus has went away or that's going away anytime soon is the most ridiculous, asinine thing I've ever heard. Again, do not listen to the government when it comes to the coronavirus. This thing is not going anywhere anytime soon. And I would not feel confident until we get a vaccine. I mean, that's all there is to it. But people are out here living their life. People are out there. Again, I'm not knocking the protesters because if you're protesting, you're fighting for something that is almost, frankly, worth dying for. To be honest with you, But anybody else, there's really no excuse for anybody else not to be out and about. You saw, and it started, during Memorial Day weekend. You saw it in the Ozarks. You saw what's going on in Florida. You're seeing again Florida, Arizona, Texas. Some of these states are having record numbers or having just numbers that are just skyrocketing. And once it starts hitting the South and the Midwest, there's trouble. There's no question. There's absolute trouble. Um, Again, I will not be confident about it um, until we get a vaccine. Other headlines, of course, yesterday you had the union, Major League Baseball Players Union, with a proposed 70-game plan with a prorated salary, with fully prorated salary, um, as they go back and forth. And again, I love baseball. I might be one of the few black people that do in my age group that even pretend they care about baseball. But I love baseball. I grew up on baseball, grew up watching baseball with my grandfather, and I've loved it ever since. But I'll be honest with you, I don't give a shit whether they come back or not. Okay, there's too much going on in the world, and there you have, and you have to. If you're baseball, you have to understand. You have to be able to take the temperature in the room. Football is coming back. The NBA is coming back. The NHL is coming back. You have protests going on. You have COVID stuff. That stuff going on. No one cares about base. No one cares whether or not baseball comes back. There's a small percentage, a very small percentage of people who care actually give a shit about baseball in 2020. It just doesn't carry. It is no longer America's pastime. It hasn't been for the past decade. Now again, I've been a defender of baseball as far as how long the games are. It's not to me. I've made this analogy a million times. You have to treat baseball like cognac or wine. You have to treat it like a drink that you sip, not a drink that you a beer or a Gatorade. That's how you got to treat baseball. So I've defended the fact that baseball, the games are too long. Most people do not defend that, but no one cares. If baseball doesn't come back, no one gives a shit. I mean, seriously, no one. So if they come back, cool. If they don't, okay. Again, if you gun to my head, I think they probably will come back. I think the players probably will probably not yet. The players want to play 114, 100 games. It's not going to happen. I could see this. I could see the 70 games, the 70 game plan passing, and them getting their fully prorated salary. Um, but I mean, both sides. Again, there are no winners and losers. There are no villains and good guys here. They're both wrong. The owners and players are both greedy as hell. The owners even more so, with not wanting to open their books and not show you how much the franchises are worth. They don't want to show you that because they know that their franchises are making plus revenue. They know their franchises are making money hand over foot. That's why they don't want to open their books. But again, no one cares about that. You have, I mean, what, 40 million people out of jobs, or even maybe a little less than that. You have COVID going around. You have this civil unrest and protest. Cops killing black men at record numbers. In the grand scheme of life, no one gives a shit about baseball. But baseball, for whatever reason, cannot understand that. This is again the Real Deal podcast with Cyril Gerald-Quinn. Thanks for the support in terms of our Wire episodes. We will be recording another episode of The Wire with Robert Sapp on Sunday. We'll be doing the season finale. What was that? The name of the episode is Sentencing. I enjoyed the hell out recapping and looking back at the greatest television. Question: The Wire is the greatest television show in the history of mankind. Um, So stay tuned for that on Sunday evening. We do the shows about around 5 o'clock. We don't do the live. We don't do them live. We pre-record them and put them out there on Sunday night. So I'll try to get that out to you around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock Sunday evening. So again, shout out and salute to Robert Sapp for helping me do those podcasts, for being a guest on those podcasts. He does a tremendous job at breaking down the episodes. And listen, the reason why The Wire is the greatest show of all time because The Wire has remained relevant despite the fact that despite the fact that it came out in 2002, 2020, things that are happening going on right now as we speak, systemic racism, police brutality, all that stuff resonates right now, and is all connected with how with the story that The Wire was trying to tell over the course of 5 seasons. So definitely looking forward to doing that podcast. As far as the NBA goes, the NBA came out with their Orlando plan. Now, it is not a finalized plan as far as what the bubble is going to look like, but they're going to be in 3 different hotels. Players are going to, once they get down there, will have to self isolate for 48 hours, have to have two negative tests. Players cannot socialize with each other from different hotels, which I think will be a major challenge. But the big news, even beyond that, the big news is the difference of opinion within the player ranks. You have the LeBron James group, which is the majority of players who want to play, versus the Kyrie Irving, Dwight Howard, Avery Bradley group. Now, keep this in mind. Players do, if you're a player, you don't have to play. If you choose not to go to Orlando for whatever reason, if you choose not to go to Orlando, you will lose 8%, 8.5% of your salary if your team missing the first 8 games. If you're on a team that gets, deep into the playoffs, and you miss 14 plus games, then you'll lose 15.1% of your salary. So the better the team, the chances, the more money that you will lose if you choose not to participate. If the season were canceled, the NBA would lose $1.3 billion. That's why the season is not going to be canceled, and also it would jeopardize the following season, 2022 season when it would start in the salary cap. There's a lot of moving parts in regards to trying to get this season started, at least started, even if they can't finish it. Now, in regards to Kyrie Irving, when you look at this situation, it's a case of the message versus the messenger. I don't think Kyrie Irving is wrong in terms of wanting to sit out to focus on what's going on with the protests and with systematic racism and dealing with issues that affect African Americans. Now, I don't agree with the fact that you can do 2 things at one time. You can play basketball and you can also focus on fighting for the rights of African Americans and fighting against systemic racism. You can do both things at one time. It's been proven over the course of history. You can go, John Carlos, Tommy Smith, Bill Russell, Muhammad Ali, Jesse Owens. I mean, Jesse Owens. Look what Jesse Owens did. excuse me, in Germany in the Olympics, winning those 4 gold medals down in Munich, Germany. So it's been done. Like you can do, African Americans, we can walk and we can actually walk and chew gum. Okay, and I disagree with the idea that playing these games would be a distraction to the cause. I don't agree with that standpoint, but I understand where Kyrie Irving, where Dwight Howard, and to a lesser extent where Avery Bradley is coming from. Now, Avery Bradley probably has the best of the ideas because he's talking about putting pressure on the NBA to do stuff, to push for things for changes right now in terms of more black general managers, black owners, things of that nature, positions within stuff that the NBA can affect now. And not just writing checks and donating to, donating to causes or charities that promote that promote social justice. That they are promoting against social injustice, things of that nature. Now again, that money counts. I'm not. You cannot dismiss the money that is donated, but it does not make it over time. It has not proven to make enough of a dent in terms of tearing down systematic racism. The problem is the messenger. Kyrie Irving is viewed as a malcontent. He's viewed as someone who is not a leader or not an effective leader. He's viewed as someone who's only going to do things in his own best interest. And the bottom line is, Kyrie Irving, you know, it sounds great to say I will give it all up, but you're not going to give it all up in terms of your salary. Kyrie Irving is going to get paid because Kyrie Irving is injured. He's not going to play for the rest of the season, this season in the playoffs. He's going to get his full salary. Okay. Number one. Number two, I'm sure there are players out there who believe that if Kevin Durant were healthy and if Kyrie Irving were healthy and they had a chance to win a championship, that Kyrie Irving would not take this stance. I'm sure there are players who believe that. Now, is I'm not big on hypotheticals, but it is what it is. I mean, you're dealing with someone who's not. This is not Kaepernick here. Like Kaepernick took a knee, he sacrificed his career, millions of dollars, and he's been paying the price ever since. So he carried the weight. His stance carried weight because he actually sacrificed playing in the NFL and sacrificed money out of his pocket. And again, when Kaepernick 2016, even Kaepernick at his best when he was leading the 49ers to the Super Bowl, he was never getting endorsements like that. NFL players don't make a lot of money off the field like that. They don't. If you look at the top athletes in terms of the highest paid athletes, the majority of them are basketball players, soccer players, basketball and soccer, and even to a lesser extent baseball. And most of baseball's money come from their actual salaries, not endorsement money. And a couple tennis players as well. Federer, the highest paid athlete in the world, was the highest paid athlete in the world this year. So it's hard for people to separate Kyrie's message from Kyrie the person. Very difficult. I think that where Kyrie made a mistake is because I can make a case that I believe this myself. I believe this myself that the NBA and that that contact sports should not return out of the fear of catching COVID. I just went over the numbers earlier in this episode about how many players are testing positive, and the seasons haven't even begun yet. This is preliminary workouts and things of that nature, spring training facility, players testing. This are players who are not even around each other a lot, who are not even the season hasn't even started. This is just This is players coming with positive tests who are just being tested. Okay, they're not even all together right now. So I can make a case and I believe this, that the NBA, the NHL, and the NFL should not come back if they actually care about player safety and the health of players. But as we all know, similar to the country, it's all about the dollar bill. It's all about the bottom line. Our country is willing to sacrifice lives, predominantly African American lives, for the almighty dollar. That's just the way it is. With that being said, the message would have been stronger if Kyrie would have combined the idea of COVID and what's going on with the civil unrest, the protests, into one big package. Because if I'm an athlete, and I see what's going on, especially as a black man, and also with COVID, I'm like I don't know if I would want to play basketball either. To be honest with you, even we had a chance to win a championship. Two of those three players have a chance to win a championship. Avery Bradley and Dwight Howard both have opportunities to win a championship with the Lakers. The Lakers are one of the favorites to win the NBA championship this year, along with the Bucks and Clippers. Listen. When I listen to Dwight Howard and Avery Bradley, I believe them. I believe them because they are second. They would be sacrificing a championship. They would be sacrificing money. Dwight Howard and Avery Bradley. I mean, Dwight Howard has made a ton of money over the course of his career, but again, he has a chance to win. He has a chance to win a championship. He has a chance to get into the Hall of Fame. But he's sacrificing something. Avery Bradley has a chance to win a championship. He's sacrificing something. Kyrie, I don't know. I think Kyrie doesn't. Again, reputation means everything. That's what I try to tell students all the time dealing in education. Build up your reputation. Your reputation is everything because your reputation can bail you out of some situations that can bail you out of some compromising situations, or it can bury you if it's not at a certain level. So it'll be interesting to see. Um, Again, they're going to play basketball. They're going to play basketball. Um, the question is, how long is the season going to last? That's the question. That's the question in all these sports. College football will start. The NFL, no, college football will try to play. The NFL will try to play. How long will their seasons last? That'll be the biggest question that you can that will be that has yet to be that will has yet to be answered. Can they finish the season? Um, in regard, so I watched the Russell Simmons on the record special on HBO Max earlier this week. Um, Listened to his interview with the Breakfast Club last week and this week. Listen to the interview with Cille Abrams. Hopefully I pronounced that right. With Cille Abrams, who was on the Breakfast Club this week. Drew Dixon's, all three, Drew Dixon, Cherie Share, and Cille Lee Abrams were all a part of that special on the record, which talked about Russell Simmons allegedly sexually assaulting all three of those women. Um, and you know, there are very few things that, even in terms of documentaries, that that get to me, that like touch, that like touch my soul, and I walk away with a completely different perspective. This one was one of them. Normally, I'm one who, because I've seen the Me Too movement, though it's been effective in terms of just getting rid of some of the perverts and some of the men who were just completely just disrespecting, shitting on women, and it's cleaned up that part of it, and rightfully so as a whole. But it's also ruined some careers when all the evidence hasn't been brought to light, and just the accusation alone was enough to ruin a man's reputation, which is not fair. Like guilty before guilty guilty without even due process, or guilty until proven innocent. That type of situation. I'm gonna be honest with you. I watched this special. I listened to Russell Simmons' interview last week and this week. There's no question in my mind that he did this. I mean, when you have to take 9 lie detector tests, why do you have to take 9 lie detector tests? Okay, so Cilla Abrams almost attempted to commit suicide, and by the way, did not try to sue Russell Simmons for 1 cent. It wasn't about the money. From her perspective, it was not about the money. So from that standpoint, I'm like, I, I mean, I believe the women. I mean, that's all there is to it. I believe the women, and you have Russell Simmons watch the interview on the Breakfast Club, and I'll deal with the Breakfast Club later in terms of what in terms of some of the heat that they took. But watch the interview, and I just wasn't convinced by Russell Simmons. I got a sense of a guy who, over the course of the interview, was trying to not only convince the audience, but he was trying to convince himself that he hadn't done anything wrong in terms of victimizing or sexually abusing these women. And you know, he had his lawyer with him, which is I had no problem with. He was not convincing, nowhere near convincing enough. If someone, if a woman is accusing me of rape, sexual assault, and I know I didn't do it, I'm going to go out of my way to deny them. I'm going to call them, yes, they're lying. Like, no, you're not going to shit on my reputation. I'm going to fight for my name to the end. I don't care how many lawyers they have to hire. No, especially if I'm in a position where I have Russell Simmons type money. I did not get the sense from that he was fighting for his name with that interview. I didn't. I did not at all. The flip side, you listen to the ladies who spoke out in the special, who have spoken out on various interviews. Cyril was the interview with just Angela Yee, and it was difficult to watch. To be honest with you, it's very difficult to watch because all three of them basically had it. It was a recurring theme with all three of them in regards to just not feeling like they had a voice. And we've seen even with the protests, even with what's going on in society, um, black women feeling like they don't have a voice, or they're feeling like they're being ignored by not only not only society, but by black men in regards to what's going on, and not just with sexual abuse, but just in terms of Breonna Taylor, the transgenders who have been murdered. Um, and I posed the question, and again, I'll repeat the question again to all the black women out there: do you feel protected? Do you feel protected? And again, I understand it is a loaded question. I get it, but it to even think that a black woman does not feel protected does not rubs me the wrong way as a black man. It really does. And I'll get to the J. Cole No Name discussion a little bit later in the program. Again, in Olawan Tansa, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. Olawan Tanyan Salu, rest in peace to her. A 19-year-old activist was killed for speaking her mind. Um, it's something that we talked about. I talked about earlier about the protests and about tearing down and breaking the walls of institutional racism. It cannot happen if black men and black women are not on the same page. And I'm not here to point fingers at either. I'm not here to say who's right, who's wrong, and I'll talk about that a little bit with J. Cole No Name stuff. That does nothing. That solves nothing. Pointing fingers at each other. We have to be somehow way on the same page. if this movement is going to be effective. You cannot have infighting and try to revolutionize and change the the structure of this country, or what this country is moving forward. This can't happen. So it definitely bothered me to my core to get to see or to get a sense that black women don't feel protected, or black women don't feel like they have a voice, or that their voice is not being heard to a certain level. That's a problem. You know, I don't know. I don't have a solution to. I don't know what the perfect solution is to fix that. I would just say listen to black women, listen to them express themselves, be empathetic, um, support them, and let's do this thing together. Um, 'Cause that's the only way anything is going to get done. Is all there is to it. In regards to the J Cole No Name situation, um, this is a situation. This is one of these rare situations where both people, both parties are right, both parties are wrong, and let me explain to you why I feel that way. I'll take. Um, I'll start with no name. So if you're no name, if you have a problem with the perception that you feel like rappers are not speaking out to advance the cause, I have no problem with that. Let's not make it a let's not make it a Twitter beef or a Twitter conversation. You got a problem with J. Cole, you got a problem with Kendrick, you got a problem with any other rapper. Can you reach out privately and have that conversation? Because once it gets to a social media, then all bets are off and all hell breaks loose. I have a problem with somebody in the workplace. I'm not tweeting, you know what, so and so sucks at their job, da 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 da, or they're making my job hard. No, no, no. It's not gonna be effective. I'm gonna reach out to that person personally and try to make the best of the situation. Try to figure some shit out. That's number one. Number two, no name. If you're no name, you have no idea what somebody else is doing behind the scenes, and we as a society make that mistake all the time. We want to call people. We want to be self-righteous. We want to call everybody else out, even if you're doing something. No name is an activist. She's out there doing the work, pushing. She's doing her thing without question. Even if you're in that position, you have no idea what somebody is doing behind the scenes. Most of the work in terms of activism is not broadcast over Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. It is done behind the scenes. J. Cole was protesting. He was out there protesting. That is an effective way to make moves, to get shit done. Period. Now, the highest form to get shit done is obviously legislation, getting laws changed. We know this, getting bills passed. But the impact, you cannot minimize the impact of what protesting has done in terms of getting shit done, or in terms of the impact it's had. Now, J. Cole. Now, you want to say where is no name right? Because I mentioned where she's wrong, where she's right. She's right from a standpoint of there's no excuse for um, there's no excuse um, in regards to in regards to society, in regards to what's going in terms of the black in terms of what we're dealing with as African Americans. No news to have. There's no excuse to have a lack of knowledge in terms of that. So and it's not her job to educate J. Cole on that. J. Cole can read a book. J. Cole can Google some shit. J. Cole can ask some questions, which leads me to J. Cole. If you're J. Cole, I respect J. Cole as an MC. I think he's one of the best. He's been top three, top five MC over the last decade without question. If you're J. Cole, pick up a fucking book. You can't sit up here and I appreciate the honesty. I'm a thinker. I don't I don't read. I'm a thinker. Cool. You can be a thinker. There's nothing wrong with thinking. Nothing wrong with it. Is a great thing. Great thing to do is to think through what you're trying to say, what you're trying to communicate. You gotta pick up a fucking book. It's not hard. And again, I just put in an order for a couple books on reconstruction and trying to educate myself on just how on why we're at where we're at. You don't understand history, history will repeat itself. Period. Period. I'm reading a book right now about Frederick Douglass, one of his biographies. It's called his second biography. Like you got like you can't sit up here and as a black man and put that message out there. I don't read. Like come on, man. Like that shit just doesn't fly in 2020. It doesn't. It makes no sense. It makes zero sense not to read. You could be a reader and a thinker. You could be both. Um, as far as the songs, I've listened to both songs. I'm not even gonna get into the hip hop aspect of it in terms of who won the battle from that standpoint. I don't give a shit about the songs as far as which one is the best one. That shit doesn't matter to me from a standpoint of what we are trying to accomplish as African Americans. We need to get on the same page, man and woman together, not black man versus black woman. That shit's not going to work in the long run. So you can sit up here and say J. Cole won the battle or No Name won the battle from the standpoint of the records that they dropped. You know what? We're fucking losing the war as African Americans, if that's the case. If black men and black women are going to come at each other, then we're going to lose the motherfucking war. Okay? Period. So again, this is a situation where both people were right and both people were wrong. But to be honest with you, there was more wrong than there was right in this situation. There's no question about it. So I guess that could have been under Rillo's rant. I got one last rant before I wrap up the program. So Kendra Perkins came out with a tweet about LeBron James, saying LeBron James is the greatest athlete in NBA history. And then you had surprisingly, and I was shocked. Bill Russell responded to that tweet with a clip of him doing a high jump and a clip of him running, down the floor in a game, showing his athleticism, getting up and down the floor at, basically at the speed of light. Um, Bill Russell was a great athlete. There's no question about it. Now, Wilt Chamberlain probably was the best athlete in the history of the NBA. Wilt Chamberlain could have been a professional volleyball player. Wilt Chamberlain could have been a professional track and field star. There's no question about it. He just so happened that he played in Philadelphia, which is a basketball haven. So it's like, yeah, yo, you gotta play basketball. Wilt Chamberlain could have been a world class track and field man. There's no long jump, high. He could have did it everything. Sprinter. Go watch some Wilt Chamberlain on YouTube and some of the block shots and how like he's the best athlete in NBA history. But LeBron is certainly in the conversation. But this is not about the conversation of who's the best athlete in NBA history. This is about Bill Russell finally saying, put some motherfucking respect on my name. When we talk about list of greatest players of all time, Bill Russell's name, for whatever reason, is not mentioned. You hear Michael Jordan, you hear LeBron, you'll even hear Kobe before you hear Bill Russell. You'll hear Magic, Bird, Tim Duncan, and what have you. You don't hear Bill Russell. For whatever fucking reason, I can't even conceive why Bill Russell is Bill Russell at worst is the second greatest player of all time. I can make a case that Bill Russell is the greatest player of all time. Okay, he's the best player on a team that won 8 straight championships, that won 11 championships. The object to play in basketball is to win the game, and he guarded and held Wilt Chamberlain in check. Go check Bill Russell's Wilt Chamberlain's numbers against the rest of the league versus his numbers versus Bill Russell. Okay. But putting that aside, I was happy that Bill Russell finally stood up for himself in regards to this debate, in regards to being acknowledged of the icon that he is. Bill Russell gets acknowledged as being one of the greatest winners of all time. He is the greatest winner, so that's not even a compliment to say that because it's a fact. Okay, it's not a compliment to say that Bill Russell's the greatest winner of all time. It is a fact. Even if you didn't acknowledge it, it still would be a fact. Okay, he does not get the respect, nowhere near the respect from a basketball playing standpoint that his resume warrants. And I think if you're Bill Russell, it's probably got to the point where I'm tired of this shit. Like, yo, put some motherfucking respect on my name. Like when Marlo Stanfield, my name is my name. So I was happy to see that he stood up for himself. And then, of course, you had, listen, Kendrick Perkins did a little backtracking saying, I just got checked by the go, which is fine. Paying respects, paying his respects, even though he probably doesn't believe that. He still probably believes that LeBron's the best athlete, which is his opinion, his right, his opinion. I have no problem with that. But it's just, to me, this was about Bill Russell finally standing up for himself in regards to his place in basketball history. I'm going to wrap up the program with this. And again, I am happy to be back with you live, doing a live program, live on YouTube. Again, this broadcast will be sent out to Blog Talk Radio, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, before the night, certainly before the night is over, without question. So I'm happy to be back with you from that standpoint. And we have a number of podcasts coming up in the next couple of weeks. Um, Today is a very, very difficult day for me personally. It marks the uh, fifth anniversary of the death of a person who helped shape me as a human being, um, as just, just who was just, I can't even, it's hard for me to even put into words the impact that this particular person had on my life. And of course, I'm talking about my uncle, Charles W. Quinn II, who passed away on this day in 2015. Um, I remember the last phone call conversation I had with him. It was during the NBA Finals. We're talking about Golden State and Cleveland, and it was probably the 15th of June. So it was that I believe Monday. It was on a Monday. That was the last time I talked to him. Um, and he died on a Friday. And I remember it because I was with the high school for graduation practice, and I was going to be part of the graduation the next day. For that was going to be our first high school graduating class, um, for E.L. Haynes. But of course, I didn't make it to that graduation that Saturday. Finding out that he had passed away on the Friday, and it was in complete shock. It was a unexpected death. It was nothing. It was nothing that anybody saw coming. Um, Again, someone, if you meet somebody that impacts your life, to the point to where 5 years after they passed away, you're still thinking about them, you're still talking about them. you can just consider yourself blessed and consider yourself lucky. Those people are few and and he was absolutely a one of a kind. I think about some of the conversations that we would have been having today considering going on in our country. There's no question that those conversations would have been some heavy conversations. They would have been informative. They would have been some necessary conversations to have. But just want to pay my respects to his memory, his and his impact on my life. So we're gonna wrap up the program on that. As always, this is the Real Deal podcast. Telling it like it is, with no apologies. I will see you next time.